I'm curious about you saying you felt like you kind of lost some of your Koreanness a little bit. Like,
Hmm.
what does that what do you mean by that, I guess? And like, do you feel like you've gotten that back now that you are I don't know, you speak English very well. Like as I said, he gave a speech at a tech conference, guys, and it was great. So your English is fantastic now. So like, how do you feel like, I don't know, as you've gotten older, kind of acclimated, you know? Yeah, how's that affected you?
Yeah, that's a great question. So when you are younger, and you're going to, middle school and, a little bit of I guess elementary school, I'm not really sure. Um, Kids are mean, kids
Yeah.
are very honest and very truthful. And, this example has probably been said before, but, I'm Korean, and one of our major foods is kimchi,
Mm.
and if you're not Korean, or maybe if you're not Asian, especially back then, you know, it's very foreign, So, my
Yeah.
mom, woke up early, made me a proper Korean lunch, and when I bring it to school, you know, all my other friends that aren't Asian are like,
Hmm.
dude, what is that? What's that smell? Oh, it's gross, like
Mm.
it's
Hmm.
nasty. Whatever, verbiage you want to put on it. And then as a kid who is a fob, for lack of better words, can't really speak English that well, has a heavy accent, has a stuttering problem,
Mm.
like I didn't want anything else to make my life a little bit more difficult, right?
Right.
So then instead of like, traditional Korean food, it became like, Mom, why don't you just give me money for like a hamburger or something, or like a
Hmm.
hot dog, at school, because that's what all the other kids get.
Right.
Um, and then as a very stereotypical Asian mom, she's like, "What's wrong with my cooking? You don't like my cooking? Like you grew up on, you love this, you love like, all this Korean stuff." And I'm like, well, like it's, all my friends don't really like it, and I'm trying to learn
Yeah.
English, and it's really hard, right? So, at that age, I personally started to detract away from going to not eating Korean food, or
Mm.
especially when I'm going to school, or going less to Korean school or less to Korean church, because I didn't think like what the point of that was, because the whole point that we immigrated over here, like most Asian families, there's only three professions that your parents will be happy with, right?
Yes.
Doctor, lawyer, engineer, and if you're not
Yep.
those, then you're a failure. You're just like, I don't know what's going on with you, right?
We can relate
Um,
to that.
right. So
We
then,
can.
so and in my mind, I'm like, I'm a very logical type of person. I was like, well, if you want me to get to a good college, this Korean thing ain't gonna help me get there. I need to learn English at a very rapid pace so that I could kind of fit in with my peers, right? And to answer your second part of the question, Alyssa, in terms of am I getting it back? I go to Korea every year in December for the past like 7 years,
Oh,
6 or 7 years,
awesome.
despite except for the pandemic time.
Hmm.
And all my relatives now are like, man, look at this white boy coming through. He lost all his Korean. And I'm like, what do you
Yeah.
mean? Like the whole point for me to go to America was for me to go to a good school and get a good
Right.
job, and that's what I did. I accomplished that. But it goes back to the point where, and your podcast title, is very relevant here. A culture in between. For me, uh, now I have no culture. Like I'm not really American, no matter how well I speak English, or how many hamburgers I slam, or how many pizzas I could, eat.
Yeah.
I'm not really Korean because I lost that tongue, I lost that accent, I lost the values and the morals of being Korean. So I'm in this like purgatory limbo type of area, right?
Mm.
Where you go there, and you're like, yeah, I'm Korean. You're like, no, just the way you dress and the way you talk, I don't think you're Korean. And
Hmm.
then you said like, oh, you speak very well English, but if I go to certain places in America, like the South, and I've been there before for these tech conferences, uh, you know, people never think I'm American. They're like, oh, this guy
Hmm.
is, American, right? Whatever that means. So, like to answer your question long-windedly, I even though I want to get it back, I don't think I can get it back,
Gotcha.
if that makes
Yeah.
sense.